I mean, maybe a little wax though, but you know, you're good.
Never.
No, never. I love that.
Never. This is one. I bought this shirt in Louisville.
Yeah, Louisville.
I bought the shirt in Louisville. I bought the shirt in Louisville.
So have we started filming?
No, not yet.
Okay. Well,
shall we?
Yeah, let's do it.
Oh, your phone just shut me out.
Okay, I got it. Don't worry. I'm just like
I'll figure it out. I can figure it out.
Well, I'm gonna stop this because there's no clap. Okay, ready?
Yep.
3, 2, 1.
I wanna be a rich bitch. Penthouse doorman, money, 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 rich bitch. Hey, give me that bag, rich bitch.
You're so rich.
Pay me.
I love it because we don't have a little director action thing that we're just slapping yourself. Outtakes, bloopers.
No, I mean, I think that's how we should start it.
Let's start that every single one.
Every single one, I just slap myself.
Right, or we start slapping each other.
Yeah.
And it becomes that like weird like thing that people are doing online where there's like slap contests.
Yeah, you're like, ready? 3, 2, 1.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And we have to wait 30 seconds for us to become conscious again.
Yeah, no, like my nose is bleeding. And we're just like, yeah, thank you.
Just like, okay, today in the news, everybody.
Sarah, why are you bruised? And why is there like hand marks around your neck?
like
And why
nothing,
have you
I'm
lost
working-
half your hair?
Nothing, I'm working with Edward Miskie.
Yeah, we're working, okay?
Yeah.
We're working. Well,
It's
usually you have to pay
professional.
someone for that, so.
Yeah, hey. Hey. Tell me about your
guys,
life. Welcome to How to Be a Rich Bitch.
How to be a rich bitch.
Failing at that this week, but also not failing at that this
come on
week.
now.
It's ebb and flow. I'm making things that are going to make me a rich bitch, but I'm also currently not a rich bitch.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's like sowing the seeds, as one
Right.
would say.
It's planting a garden.
Sowing the seeds of love.
I use that analogy a lot. Like the seeds that you plant today will give you fruit for tomorrow.
Oh, what kind of fruit?
Just, at this point, any.
Okay,
Literally
cool.
anything.
You're like, I'll take a durian.
Right.
You're like, ooh. No offense.
Yeah.
Have you ever eaten a durian fruit? Have you ever smelled a durian fruit? It's
No, but I've heard they're absolutely disgusting. It smells like the inside of a dirty butthole.
yeah. It smells like that and it tastes like that. But then sometimes you get a good one. It tastes like a clean butthole.
We love a clean
Okay,
butthole.
there we go. See? God, this is I love that.
Tuesday morning.
Like, Mom, it's really
and we're
great. I
off
love
to
you
the
listening in,
races.
Mom. I love you listening.
Love you, Mom. Love you, Mom and Dad. Okay.
I love you guys. So yeah, welcome guys to How to Be a Rich Bitch, where we talk every week about what we're up to, striving to make that quiche
Secure
and
the bag.
securing the bag, and also like just what we've learned throughout life, and then having guests, which we're gonna have a guest really soon. I'm really excited.
Yes. I'm so
Yeah.
excited about our guest.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about
We'll talk about you can't say it. We're excited about guest.
Guest.
Christopher Guest.
Christopher Guest. Oh God, I love Christopher Guest.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Well, anyway, speaking of money, I actually just saw a really great kind of rundown today about the financial situation of the world. And
Oh my God, it's a lot right
it's
now.
a lot right now. And like the whole Fed Now thing that's rolling out in July is terrifying.
Okay,
And,
talk
like,
to me about it.
As like a person with not means, I'm kind of like, what does this means? So basically it's a thing that's running through the bank.
It's not looking at the camera. I was like, yeah. Wink.
It's a thing that's running through the banks. It's going to be like an international or national monitoring of how we spend money.
Cool.
Not that that's not already happening.
Yeah,
but
that's literally
But
what-
the banks are doing it, not the government. So now the government is going to be doing it. And the argument is that the government, if the government decides that you are spending money on something that you shouldn't be spending money on because of how much you have or what your credit score is or et cetera, they can block your charge. Now, I don't know if this is like what's actually going to happen, but the fact that that is a power that they could have, like if you want to take a vacation and leave the country, but you have a credit card bill that's like not paid off fully.
Yeah.
The idea is that they could potentially block that transaction from occurring.
What is this called?
Fed Now.
Okay, I'm reading
It's
up
a
on this
thing
now.
through the bank. It's crazy. And I don't think I know enough about it per se to really like get into the nitty gritty of it, but that is kind of like the summarization of what I have heard.
Okay.
And this apparently has been in the works for quite a while.
Oh.
It's kind of like a global, like central national bank situation.
Yeah.
Which also like red flags conspiracy theories to like Jewish people and et cetera. But like this is an actual thing that's rolling out.
You engage a range of financial institutions. Okay.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Wants a robust set of core clearing and settlement functionality. See, all they're saying is like 50 things that I'm just like, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really get it.
It's kind of like, I think on its face it doesn't sound terrible.
Not at all.
but like the underlying fine print of it all could kind of raise a little questions.
I think anytime, to be real, anytime like money is going to change or like there's something going to shift, it makes me concerned, because some of these institutions now, believe me, I'm all about change. I want to change fucking everything right now, but literally
Like, start
everything,
over.
literally burn it, like
Apple
help.
reset.
Yeah, please,
Everything.
please, Control Alt Delete, end task, end task.
Someone's not an Apple girl.
Yeah, that's me. I'm not anti-Apple. I just not on her. You know what I mean? I love her, but I'm not eating her right now. Do you know?
Totally get it.
She's on the other one, but either way, I'm into it all.
Yeah.
Accessibility. But yeah, my thing is like, I'm all about change. And I saw like a video last night, which isn't out yet, but it's a pre-cut of about the political discourse and how we're so divided and how, as a democracy, our whole core function of stability is to be able to have conversations and be able to then come up with a solution based on different viewpoints than the collective. But we're going to a point where Congress, no one believes in Congress, no one. Like it's on all-time low.
They've certainly given us reason.
And yes, God, yes.
But also Tennessee.
Yikes. So
Send
yikes.
Send
So, and we're so divided politically, which makes sense because very differing viewpoints. But it's like you're either in this camp or you're in that camp, and then it's like there's no discourse, there's zero.
Well, I think it's also, and obviously I haven't been in high school for a long time, and I didn't
neither.
go to college. But like,
At least it's been a
debate
couple years
squad,
since high school,
like
for
debate
sure.
squad, debate team, et cetera, were such great tools because it taught you how to have a conversation with people who opposed your views on purpose, and how to like weave your way through it and mitigate
Right.
that conversation to a place where you can either agree or separate.
Yeah.
And I don't even think that we had debate team in my high school when I was going. It was kind of like on the tail end of home ec where they stopped teaching you
right, home
how to
ec.
like do things around the house. And I like, this is my gripe of all times. Like, I didn't know how to properly boil an egg until I was 28 years old. Like, woof.
Dear God.
Woof.
Wow.
And like, I only really learned how to actually make rice like this year. Because like no one taught me.
Get a rice cooker.
You know,
that's
like
what I
all of
learned.
us, my mom cooked and so does my dad. My dad is a griller. He loves his little girl.
You sound like my family.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
it's
for real.
literally that.
But like, that explains why we're so much alike.
Yeah. You're like, my dad grills, my mom cooked. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, you know, growing up, we were all so busy. We didn't really, like, we had dinner around the table, but a lot of times we were on the go.
Right.
So there was never really, aside of my grandmother when we were really little and she would watch us, I never really learned how to cook. And so like home ec, I was so excited for it when I
Yeah.
got to middle school. And right before I got to middle school, it was outsies.
Yeah, it was like, bye, girl.
And I think debate team was around the same time when they
Okay.
stopped doing it.
Stopped.
And I don't know why. I mean, I am not the barometer here. I went to a tiny little private Catholic school in the middle of Pennsylvania that just burned down a couple years ago.
Wow.
And like, they were horrible to me
ding,
and they
ding.
were not a
Yeah.
great school. And everyone I know who like went to college before me and came back and we'd talk about it were like, I was not prepared. We are undereducated. And it's because of the focus on religion and morality. Like, I think I had like 2 or 3 religion classes a day.
Wow.
Like, why?
Wow.
Why?
In a Catholic school?
Right. Like, I took an accounting class as a senior.
And they were like,
as
if
an
you
elective.
have no money, Jesus is mad at you.
Right, Jesus,
Yeah.
it's your fault. God hates
It's
you.
on you.
But I took that my senior year as an elective. I had to elect to take that class. It wasn't something that like was just offered. Like, I had to say I want to do this.
Right.
And I did it because at that point I knew that I was moving to New York and I was like, I should probably figure out how to use money because at that point I was working. And like my parents gave me like a gas credit card
Yeah.
that I could only
cool.
use for gas.
Yeah.
Because it was specific to the gas station, whatever. But like all my other money, I was like, hey friends, let's go shopping. Or like, let's go to Ruby Tuesdays.
Yes, that buffet.
The buffet,
The salad
honey.
bar.
So like I didn't, these things aren't taught, like debate, accounting,
No.
home ec stuff. And so we're just wildly unaware of how any of these things work.
Yeah.
And to your point of like that video about how to discuss things that we don't agree with.
Yeah.
We don't know how because critical thinking is not
Yes.
something you learn through debate and
Yes.
other things, and it's just not, to my knowledge, from my experience, not a thing that
Right.
exists.
Right. And I think there's like, there's such an emphasis. No, exactly. I remember, growing up being like, there was one class where, and this was like way back in the day, so this wasn't even high school, I think this was middle school, where this one random math teacher was like, I know you guys are young, but you're going to have to be able to balance a checkbook at the time when I don't have a checkbook.
LOL, I know.
And she was like, this is literally what a check looks like. This is how you would make out a check.
That was my accounting class.
Because I was like, oh shit, that's actually useful one day.
Right. Well, and see, you and I are the same age,
Yeah.
ish.
Yeah.
So like that's exactly okay. This is the pitfall that I complain about all the time, and totally like I should have been more proactive in learning this. But like when you're 19 and in New York City by yourself, it's like the last thing you're worried about. You're like, where am I getting food? How am I getting money?
Yeah. How am I being alive?
Am I being alive?
Yeah. Am I alive now?
But like
Born.
the accounting class was basically debits and credits.
Yeah.
Balancing your checkbook.
It's insanely
And
dope.
that was essentially it.
That's like a life class. Like, that's perfect.
It's perfect, except for in 2005, 6-ish, when the debit card rolled out, balancing a checkbook was kind of obsolete.
Oh, yeah.
And like, I don't really know anyone who balances an actual physical checkbook anymore, except for my mom.
No one, except the woman who birthed me.
Right,
Yeah.
except for my mom, who's brilliant. But like, and she balances my grandmother's checkbook and everything else. But like,
Everything. My parents are all online now. They're just
everything is online. You
Yeah.
don't have to. You log in. You look at your charges. You look at your balance. Is
like,
there money
how's she
there?
doing?
Great.
Good? Okay, cool.
And you don't have to do anything else. But then what really sucks about that too is that we weren't really taught how to invest, how to save, how to do the things with like especially from a 1099 perspective, where it's like, how do you like, without the 401k extension of your 9-to-5 employment, how do you then put money aside?
Right.
And there's so much scarcity mindset within the creative field that you're like, oh, I only made this much, I can't put anything aside.
That's not
because
even
everything
true.
goes to bills.
Because you can literally invest with like a couple thousand. You could start really changing your life.
Well, I mean, not even. I think I started my IRA the first time with like $600.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. See,
Because the maximum is $6,000 per year.
Oh.
You're only allowed to put $6,000 in per year. And so like with a Roth IRA, I don't know like
Roth IRA. No, you're right.
And so like what I really needed to get my brain around, which my friend Catherine like actually beat into me before, was that whenever you get paid, you pay your future self first.
Yeah.
And that's like savings, IRA, stocks, investments, etc.
Love that.
And then everything else doesn't matter. Like obviously rent matters or mortgage or whatever you're paying matters, but any other kind of bill that you have is secondary to paying you tomorrow. And that's something that was like a recent lesson to me that I was like, oh my God, that makes so much sense. Prioritize your future.
Yes.
Prioritize where you're going, not where you're at. And like that was such a slap in the face. To me.
Damn.
Now we're even.
We both slap each other now.
Because that was never taught.
Huh.
You know, like that's like accounting home ec adjacent.
Yeah.
That's like why was this not like why was I not sat down?
Why are we not empowered for this?
I don't know. But I am here as someone who is freshly doing this instead of being like, okay, I'm out of debt now, I can start saving.
Yeah.
No. Save first. It doesn't have to be a lot. Sometimes I'll put $150 in, sometimes I'll put $50 in, sometimes I'll put $500 in. It depends on where I'm at.
Right.
Money wise. But like pay yourself tomorrow first.
I love that.
Same.
Okay.
It was
and
such a lesson.
I have a really good guy who's an accountant for my Fidelity 401k thing I have. Also, when you're in, this is a good plug for the union, when you're in sag-aftra, you get a pension and health for all the work that you're doing, and it's very important. That's why I always push if you're ready, join the union, because it's actually investing in your future, and also like as an artist.
Yeah.
So come on now. But that's so important. I think that's incredible. And I think we should talk more about, so I think too is like however we're raised, wherever we come from, I think every single person I talked to was not properly prepared.
No one.
To be in life, to be doing life.
Unless you
Financially.
Right. Unless you grew up in a family that was already affluent and already had those systems in place and either did it for you and set you up for success. Because I certainly know adults who had that happen.
Me too.
Several of whom have bought apartments because their parents were like, here's the
Here's an
down
apartment,
payment, or like, here's how you set up everything from the time you're
not
12.
relatable. Not a relatable concept.
Not relatable. You
Yeah.
know, like I know people whose parents or grandparents like bought them stocks when they were children.
Cool.
You know, like my grandparents bought me bonds.
That I cashed right in when I was in my
Literally,
something 20s.
Not even.
Struggling in New York.
Graduated high school, cashed in my bonds, used it to move to New York.
I love that though. We used it for what we needed.
I mean,
I wasn't
100%,
gonna-
yes.
But who's
And-
going to do it for me?
And the question then becomes like, how much would they really be now after
God.
2 giant like economic crashes? I love that the How to Become a Rich Bitch podcast has actually now become like, let's talk about money instead of what are we doing?
Yeah, well,
But it's important.
We're gonna get
It's
that.
a good balance. I think what needs to happen because like you are fully 1099. Like you work for you and no one else.
Yeah, and I do W-2s as well for like as
like
an,
little gigs and
for
stuff.
actors.
Yeah,
as
yeah,
an
yeah, yeah,
actor, like
sure.
everything is, you know, and also like the bookings I have coming up in Baltimore, Nashville, and Texas,
The yeehaw
Austin.
of it all.
Austin, Texas.
Oh, Austin's apparently great.
Austin is great.
It's just in Texas.
It's just in Texas. So listen, Texas girl,
Get your shit together.
You're gorge. You have a beautiful little thing going. You're big and beautiful, and you got great food, and there's amazing people there. But your laws are really fucked. So let's.
And listen, I say this from a place of living in Pennsylvania, like
Yeah.
not much farther behind.
Right.
Like doing better,
Right.
improvement with
Right.
the last election cycle.
Right.
But like, whew,
Ooh la la.
ooh la la.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like it's like there's certain things. Anyway, some of those are W-2, so that kind of balances it out. But like I am predominantly, you know, my own boss. So yes, 1099s all the way, baby. So it's always good to have money in the bank pushed aside for taxes. I ended up getting stuff back this year because I worked so effing much. So work. I mean,
I am not.
sorry, have you done yours yet?
Okay, listen.
Oh my God. We're not going to say what day it
I
is.
filed my business taxes on time because business taxes are due March 15th.
Yeah.
So those got filed in time.
Great.
The IRS did not receive them in time, so I got a notice yesterday that's like, you owe us $2,500 for filing late. And I'm like, sure didn't. Here's my certified
not,
mail receipt
honey.
from the day I mailed it in.
Yeah.
So I had to call them yesterday, and I was on the phone with them forever.
Mm-hmm.
And these are 2 LLCs that I'm actually closing to like restart the thing. But I had submitted that paperwork already, and they didn't get it, didn't process it, etc. Whatever that situation is.
Sexy.
So I have to rewrite the letter, resend it with my certified mail copy to them to be like, these LLCs don't exist and haven't existed for like a year, as far as I'm concerned, because I filed that paperwork and have never received anything in the mail asking me for any information. So having spoken to an actual human yesterday at the
love
IRS, I got right through. I was kind of surprised.
What?
I know. There was like no hold time. It was wonderful.
I think everyone's
was like,
giving up. You're the
right,
only one that's
everyone's
like,
given up.
wait, they have a phone, I
They're
think.
like, I haven't answered the call all day. You're
Yeah.
my first call.
She's like, it's been 5 years.
It's been 5 years.
Yeah.
So that happened, and then I also forgot to email my tax girl my forms. So
Oh.
now I had to file an extension and do all the things. So I'm a hot mess with taxes this year.
Oh, shit.
Mine are always filed way early, and
Me
this year I
too.
just dropped the ball. You know, and
Whatever.
I'm going to owe so much money because I'm 1099 except for one, and the one I'm not 1099 on only took out federal.
Okay.
And so I have to pay state. So one way or another, I'm like looking for things to write off.
Yes. Well, that's why I love my girl.
I know I have at least the standard deduction, which I think is $12,500. I have at least that.
Right.
And there's a possibility I'm waiting for this one donation receipt back
Yeah.
so that I can apply that to. Anyway, all of this to say, not to air out all of my finances online.
How to be a rich bitch.
Because they're complicated.
Yeah.
You know, and like, you know, everybody listening to this is probably creative adjacent in some
Sure.
capacity.
I think
So, like,
everyone's creative adjacent. So
I do too. But like, I mean, in a fiscal sense where like we have 1099s and W-2s coming from all over the place.
All over the world.
Sometimes multiple states.
Literally the
Sometimes
UK.
multiple countries. Yeah, there
they
you go.
can't do a 1099 for me. So I had to I was like, do I make my own? And I talked to my tax lady and she's like, no, since it's under your umbrella of you as a creative, it's income. It's like, you know, whatever they call that. It's whatever. And so I applied that. So yeah, I mean, I will say, going back though, I want to go back to like how we are not prepared. I think some of the things that my personality is that, and I think you're similar too, when I got to college and I realized that I wasn't prepared for some things, like financial things, how my laundry, all these like things that like I just wasn't doing as a child. But I was always admirable of kids who were like, yeah, I know how to do this. I learned how to do this. I know what this means. I understand credit cards. I understand, I kind of felt like I don't want to be the dumbest bitch in the room. I can't handle that. I cannot handle being even the low 50s, 50% of the room.
Yeah.
If I'm in the 50% or lower in this room, I need to get better.
I hate it. Yeah.
Grow,
same.
get better.
Same,
baby.
same. Yeah.
So I ended up so obsessively like, wait, I need to learn all about finances. I need to learn how to cook anything. I need to learn how to do the perfect laundry. What does everything mean? What is this fabric softener? What is the ratio? What is that? So I ended up becoming like Susie Homemaker, but not.
But also
I hate
like
that.
business queen genius.
Yeah. So like freshman year, I was like, no, you can't put that in with the da-da-da. I'm like telling people after I had no idea what was going on.
Right.
But I think there's like, because I hate feeling, and I think the feeling is this. It's not only is it a control problem, but also it's also like the lack of autonomy or not feeling empowered. And I hate that. As a
Same.
country, as a society, we're constantly disempowered by our education system.
By everything.
By everything. By vote. Don't vote, or your vote doesn't matter, or this and that. And
right, you're a dime a
don't.
dozen. There's someone around the corner waiting for
someone
this
else will do
job.
it.
Like,
the
it's
same thing happens in SAG-AFTRA. Like, people are like, the contracts, they're just so hard. I'm like, they're really not. Like, you
Right.
really actually will be able to do this.
right. Well, and again, like the one thing that I rage against so hard from like an actor, producer, industry standpoint with theater is like the idea of either pro-shotting or live streaming. Everyone's like, oh my God, the contracts are so impossible. And like, they're not. They've been done before. Go read them.
If that fucking moron down the block, and it's a dude who like is just like, my script's shit, but I know how to do it. I'm just going to make it happen.
Right.
Look at that guy. He's able to do it. You can do it.
Yes. Well, I actually just did a podcast interview the other night with this, like, really, it was such a cool thing. Like, it was this 4,000 person community that all, like, met on Discord, and they also had a weekly podcast every Saturday night. And so I was the guest on this one night, and then, like, they can randomly have people from the community pop in. And so these two kids popped in who were both Baldwin Wallace musical theater kids, like 19, 20 years old.
Cool.
Or 20, 21. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And they were asking me like the whole thing of like TikTok people or people with metrics online who are getting into shows who aren't necessarily good.
Ooh.
And so we had to have the conversation of like, it's not a meritocracy. The best, most talented person is not getting this job. There are a lot of different factors that go into it. And like, could they do a good job at it? Absolutely. Are they the 100% the best person for it? Not always.
Not always. No.
And in certain cases, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. Alex Newell, anything she's in, let her have it.
Work.
But also to that point, knowing that that's going to happen, why do the people with the most talent not just swallow the pill and play the game?
Yeah.
Get the metrics.
Yeah.
Get your booty on social media.
Yeah.
And build that out, because then you will be the best person for the job with the metrics, doing all the things.
With the talent.
Like, that's kind of the new triple threat. It's no longer sing, act, dance. It's like sing, act, dance, have lots of followers on social media.
Yes.
Quadruple threat. So,
Yeah.
I think that a lot of times theater being 50 years behind the curve of everything, especially the body of those who are doing it, with some exception, like, get the metrics. Just do it. Like, if you're really good and you're sour about other people getting ahead of you because they have metrics and they're not as good, then maybe get the metrics. Like, don't be, it's like you're saying, if you're the lower 50% of the room, like, you'll do whatever you have to be not that. I'm viewing this as the same.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't have the metrics, figure out a way to get them so that you can be in that conversation too. And I was so resistant to that for so long, because I'm like, it was also the same thing with working out when I first moved here. I was like, I don't need to be ripped. I'm talented. And then it turns out you do. And I hate that.
But also, like,
I hate that a lot. And it's changing. It's getting better. It's getting better,
Right.
but I hate it. And I resisted it when really, when I was 20 and my metabolism was like a fucking locomotive, like I could have just gone to the gym a couple times and like got super jacked and started and everything.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that. And so the same, I will draw the parallel to the social media conversation where like, if you don't have the metrics, but you're also really talented, like maybe just, you know, go to the gym a couple times and get those metrics going. And I don't mean the literal gym. I'm speaking hyperbolically here.
Yeah, it's a, allegory.
Right. Allegory.
Metaphor, rather.
But yeah, just do it. Play the game.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of, again, I think what this podcast is about a lot too, is like just how to be a rich bitch, play the game.
And stop being told that you can't be one because you were born somewhere and blank. Because we were born in the middle of fucking nowhere. We came, we literally, I mean, that's the thing. That's why we were like, sorry, Nepo babies. But not like
there's enough space for you.
You're great.
Yeah. And
friends
like
with some of you. You're awesome. But you're not going to be on this.
Right. So. And after 18 years in New York, like flying by the seat of my pants for a good majority of it, like I have my own apartment.
Yes.
And like 19-year-old me would be like, bitch.
Okay.
Bitch. Okay, daddy.
Put the money on the table. Yeah.
Right. Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Keep the change, you filthy animal, and a happy new year. But yeah, no, I think, yeah, all I wanted to say was, yes, I think going back is just saying, we came from situations where you all are coming from situations where no matter where you're coming from, typically you're not set up to be successful in life with the basic knowledge of finance.
And so like the willingness to play the game and just do what you need to.
Yeah.
Will help you.
Yeah.
But that's also because I'm contrarian sometimes and I don't want to do that.
Sure.
That's also why I cannot stress enough. And I did this on the podcast with these little baby theater kids, like make your own thing. Just do it. And it's for a number of reasons. One of which is so that you don't have to play the game so hard and you can have your own agency over your own thing. But the other part of it is too, like these TV and film and theater gigs are not 24/7. They're not a full-time job. So like they will go away at some point, regardless of how long your contract is. So having something else that you can work on while that's happening and then will catch you on the other side will like just help you. Because I feel like a lot of times actors specifically, and I'm going to probably make a broad statement about creative people in general, like that desperation comes out because they feel like they need the job to feed their creativity and for validation, when really if you create something of your own, you can give that to yourself.
Yes.
And then you go into those auditions and you go into those rooms with like if I book it, great.
Great. If I don't, I still have a show that I made.
If not, If not, I have something else that I've made that has a life and it's doing its thing. And so it becomes, it's kind of like the great equalizer.
I love that.
You know, and it's one of those things. I think I've articulated this incorrectly in the past, where it was like you going into an audition room thinking like, I don't give a shit.
Right.
And it is that, but I was saying it for the wrong reason. But I still stand by that. You're saying I don't give a shit, not because you don't want the job or because it wouldn't be great for you or your career or whatever, but because you have something else that you can go to if you don't get it.
Right. You're not putting all your eggs in one basket, as they say. Yeah. No, I feel like some of the best auditions I've ever done were ones where I was just like, I just booked something else, so...
Right.
Whatever.
Bye.
Like, I love this. Like, I'm going to live it up. I love this. I'm very grateful for this, but...
And also,
if I leave and never think of it again, that's okay.
Yeah. And also, like, here comes the dead horse, but that's what the Chicago of it all was. Like, I went into that not caring.
Right.
I was kind of like, you know what? I want this. It'd be great if I got it, but, like, I'm doing other things, so it's cool. And, like, despite how that turned out, it still worked.
And you still got the booking.
Right. So it's going into it from a place of, like, I don't need you.
That's what happened with this thing I booked. I have a photo shoot next week. I literally was just like, I'm going on vacation. I even asked my manager, I was like, can we do it in the morning? They wanted me in the afternoon. I was like, no, because I want to leave for my vacation.
Right. Thank you so much. Like,
can you make it in the morning?
Yeah.
Yeah. And she was like, yeah, let's try. And she's so sweet and awesome. Dreammaker telling you the best. And she worked it out. And I got to go, did my thing, went on my vacation, literally said to my boyfriend, I was like, we needed this vacation. We just produced a giant TV pilot, 90 people in it. Crazy times. Totally worth it, but holy crap. You know, because we're both the leaders on the set. I was producing and he was the director. So we had a lot on our shoulders and we needed the break. And I feel like you have to have a line between having your time to yourself and like also working your ass off, but you need to replenish and rejuvenate. She knew that I was going on this thing and I was like, hey, boo boo, we have it on the, you know, she's like, okay, let me try to move to morning. And she did. And then I booked it because I literally did I was like, yeah, great. Going on my vacay
Bye.
at the winery, getting that vineyard realness.
How was it?
It was so iconic. Greenport is amazing. Thanks for moving my camera because I'm little. Greenport is incredible. Yeah, we had a blast. And the whole time, which was so funny, so my boyfriend's like, I think you booked it. And I was like, no, but it doesn't matter. Definitely didn't. Definitely didn't. Not at all. Definitely didn't book. And then like a week later, she's like, you did it. I was like, oh,
Okay, Michael.
okay, I get it. He's like, I told you. I was like, damn it, you're right. How dare you? But that's the thing is like when you feel like everything else is just like you're good, you don't feel that desperation.
Yeah.
But I shared something that I think you watched it. Maybe you liked it. I shared it on my
Probably.
On Instagram, which is the only social media I'm super active on. That and actually Facebook is a double post. And like one of my reels that like popped off on Instagram really popped off on Facebook, and I forgot that it even went there. And I was like, wow, maybe I should do more of that. Anyway, yeah, I shared something. It was Leslie, what's her face from SNL.
Oh my God, I love her. Leslie Jones.
Leslie Jones, the fucking shit.
What a queen. I've seen that before.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah, I think I shared it, and I think you liked it.
Yeah.
So I was like, I think he gets it.
Yeah, because I think I shared it also from that because it's so true.
She basically says that the reason she wasn't booking or doing anything was because she was coming from desperation, because she's like, I don't have any money, bitch. I need to book this shit. And they were like, no. Come from your talent. You might not have the money, but you actually aren't lacking at all when it comes to your talent, when it comes to your creativity. It's all there. So act like you've got it all. Come from that source, the source of not lacking. Come
Right,
from
like
the
you already
source.
got it.
You've already got it. And also come from the source of like, yeah. I mean, I have $2 to rub together, bitch, but I have this fucking talent, and that's where you should come from.
And that's where
we
you're
should all come
cashing in.
from that.
Yeah.
You know.
I love her. She's amazing.
Yeah. But that's kind of how I feel. So I'm glad we talked about that because, also, we're like, we grew up in the 90s, early 2000s, like where credit cards had destroyed everybody in the 80s. Like,
it's just such a wild arc if you look at it, because credit scores even didn't exist until like the last like 20 years, I think 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
And like that really kind of divided the poverty lines
Incredibly.
because credit is how shit's supposed to work.
Right.
Which is another thing I didn't learn until I was like in my 30s.
Right. Yeah.
Where like, and I mean, my parents do this. They just didn't share it. Or like I didn't hear it because you never hear your parents, you know.
Right.
You can listen but not hear.
Facts.
And so it's like the idea that like you don't touch your debit card or your bank account for anything. You don't link it to anything. You don't touch it for anything. And you are only supposed to use your credit card, and then you're supposed to pay the whole thing off at the end of the month. And that is the cycle of credit.
Yep.
And no one does that because debit cards made everything so accessible. And I wish that I never would have gotten one. I wish that I would have just used my credit card, and that would have been the end. Yeah, same. Same. Because that's how it's supposed to work. And no one taught us that. No one taught me that. And I just, when I got my first credit card, I was like, oh my God, I have all this free money. It was so like David from Schitt's Creek. He's like, well, I don't have to pay this off. I'll just write it off. Right. It's like, no, you have to pay it
That's
back.
a write-off.
Like, wait, what?
That episode, he's just like, it's a write-off.
It's a write-off. Like,
they're like, no, you just bought like food, and we're like, you wanted a Snickers, and that's not a write-off, honey.
Like, yes, it is.
I bought this whole store. It's
no. So I was like burning through my debit card and my credit card when I was 19, and because I wasn't making enough money to like sustain everything.
Yeah,
that credit card sat for years of me paying like $10. And I think I was 25 or 26 when I finally paid that thing off.
Wow.
And it wasn't even a high balance.
No, you just were like...
I just was like not making enough money as a full-time performing actor with like 2 or 3 side hustles.
Help.
With like really low rent to pay anything.
That's so wild.
It's so wild, but it's also the reality of it too. And that was part of the conversation I was having with these little baby musical theater kids too, is that, theaters... unless you're on Broadway, don't pay. There's like 5 that pay over $1,000 a week.
Really? I thought the weekly contract for a principal performer in a Broadway show was like $17.
Principal performer in Broadway is $24 now.
Oh, great.
But that's minimum. That is
okay.
minimum. So, like, if you're a principal, you are getting above that. Like, minimum, that's like you bring a pencil on stage and you leave, and that's the only thing you do.
Love that.
Like, to even be an actor in the theater, regardless of what you do, minimum is 24.
Love.
But then you have to figure equity dues,
Yeah.
agent fee,
Yeah.
taxes.
Yeah.
You know, like,
Taxes.
it all goes away.
That's nice.
Especially because making that much money, you're in a different tax bracket, you're taxed differently, it goes down.
Sure.
But most regional theaters, which is the majority of where people work,
Yeah.
I think the most I ever made in a regional theater was $600 a week. Ever. And now national tours being on the chopping block right now with the strike that's happening.
Yeah.
You know, those contracts are also like, you have a production contract, you have a CETA, and like those two kind of like make it. The CETA contracts make it more affordable for producers to put tours out.
Okay.
But you are making a fraction of what the Broadway show of its like the counterpart is making.
Wow.
So like I had a friend that was on the Something Rotten tour, swinging the male leads. CETA contract, I don't remember what tier. The show was still on Broadway, I think. No, I'm lying. It had closed, but it was a Tony winner.
Right.
And they were getting under $700 a week when all was said and done. Like swinging. And that's one of the hardest jobs you can do in a show.
Swing, you need to know everything.
Yeah, and like I know people who've done national tours like on production who've like bought apartments from it. And that's just, I don't think that's a reality anymore. Mm-hmm. You know, union or non-union. I've seen non-union breakdowns that like they're paying principals more than union contracts are. And like you could argue that, yeah, with union you get pension and health, but if you're making that much money on a non-union, you can do that yourself.
Right.
Like, I don't know. I did the whole.
They can also do anything.
Right. The whole thing is a mess. And I just think the perception that like when you're working regionally, you're making a ton of money is just false. Like I was offered an equity contract at a theater in Maryland to play a lead in a musical, and it was $250 a week. Huh. And I turned it down. I was like, absolutely not.
Yes.
Like,
yeah. For what? Like, how would you be alive? Okay. I'll move to Maryland and be homeless now.
Literally. I mean,
cool.
You know, and there were some ways that I could have made it work, and I was trying to negotiate that with them, and I gave them 3 scenarios in which I could say yes, and they said no to all of them. And then, to no one's surprise, couldn't find anyone to do the role, messaged me like a month later, and they were like, hey, like, you know, we would still really love to work with you, which was like, red flag, you can't find anyone. Yeah. And they offered me like $25 a week more. And I was like, no, honey, I've done this show. It is hard. You don't leave the stage. You yell the whole time. Like, it's not, I lost my voice the last time I did it. Like, I'm not doing this for $250 a week.
No, that's, wow.
But like, all that to say that, you know,
it's like a day rate.
It's just like I think there's a lack of awareness for audience members, like to know how much the people on stage are making. Yeah. And then when you compare that to the amount that the tickets are.
Yeah, no, it's insane.
Equity or non, like doesn't matter. It's absurd.
No, it is absurd.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like a cycle of just like, what the fuck? You know, it just keeps going. I find that to be really difficult. And, you know, it's hard with theater because like even with film and TV, let's just say I was the lead in a movie, but it was under the micro budget contract, which you would think would mean, oh, bitch, you ain't getting shit, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. No. Because it's based on the overall, like, what is each episode? Is it less than 20 grand? That qualifies for a micro budget. But because, with the micro budget agreement, which is literally just an online form, guys, it's so easy to make something union.
Do it.
You do that, and since I was SAG-aftra, like a union member, he made it union, and then I negotiated a higher rate actually than I would have gotten on an ultra low budget contract, which is actually technically a higher whatever. Yeah. But because the micro budget is set up so that it's not not a set rate, you negotiate that with the producers.
Got it.
So I got paid higher actually than what I was probably going to get paid if it was a spa agreement or an ultra low, because I had negotiated that. Yeah. So like that's what the contracts are supposed to do. They're supposed to make you feel empowered.
Taken care of. Well, and I think too, actors are afraid.
But that works in a smaller chunk though, right? It's not like theater where, what I'm trying to say is it's not like theater where I'm on stage like multiple times a week and it's weeks and weeks. Yeah, this was a film, so I was done in a few days. Yeah. You know, it was a short film.
But I mean, it's all the same though. Like you go out for a job, you want the job, you get the job, and then when it comes to negotiation, like everyone is afraid to negotiate or say anything because
Yeah.
they're just happy to have a job.
Yeah, I
and like
know.
I remember that feeling of being offered a job and knowing the money wasn't enough and knowing it wasn't okay, but I really wanted the role and I really wanted the job, and so I just was like, okay, no problem. And then like was scraping by on some of these contracts, and like there were a couple that I really went to bat for myself and,
Sure.
and got more money, but like there were definitely some that I just did not and should have, you know. I mean, the least I ever made on a contract that was out of town, I think, was $125 a week. Yeah. And yeah.
After taxes, like $60.
No, it was $10.99. Yeah. It was a great summer, and I had the best time,
Sure.
and we worked with some heavy
But you
hitters.
paid.
But I was paying to live there.
You paid the price of that good
I
summer.
was, and I did it because it was close to my parents, and like, you know, they came and saw the show and everything else, which was cool. But like, and I made concessions, and you can already hear me like explaining away why I said yes to it. But you know, it was a good experience. I wouldn't trade it. But the money was just like, ugh. And some people didn't get paid at the end. Some people to this day have not been paid, and that was like 15 years ago.
Holy mother.
Yep.
Baby. Maybe no.
No.
Well, I think it's like declaring your worth. I think we're going to touch on that because we've talked about
I think
that all
we're
the
going
time.
to touch on that a lot.
Yeah, because like, dude, yeah, you can't do things that are below you.
Yeah.
And you can't. No, listen. I'm not saying you got to do shit. You got to do things for money sometimes. That's what happens.
You sure
That's
do.
what it do. That's
Yep.
what it be.
Yep.
But don't keep making concessions on your dreams.
No.
For your roles and your things that you're pursuing creatively. Don't keep dropping yourself because it just cheapens. Not only does it hurt you, and it actually hurts the whole lexicon of artists. The minute we keep lowering ourselves, the minute we've already lost.
Well, and I think that's also a version of paying your future self.
Yes.
Because even though it isn't like immediate monetary whatever,
Yeah.
by putting yourself first, you are already paying
Like
your
I'm
future
saying,
self.
I'm not going to get less than this. If
Right.
you want me to even be in the room.
Right. And there's so much power and validation in saying
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
Like, unless it's a project that, like, you know, Mariah Carey is attached to, that, like, all of the hierarchies of people are on.
Or
fine.
it's something you so believe in and you've creatively bled into it and it is the one thing.
Right.
Totally.
Like there are places to make concessions.
Sure.
Which is easier to do if you have something else that is funding you or you are going to go to after the fact.
Facts.
Because otherwise, if you were putting all your eggs in said golden opportunity basket, if that show never makes it, if that show gets shut down early, then like, what do you got? And you're back to the grind. And it annoys me to no end when I see people who are like, you know, their shows have closed or they're back from a contract or they're back on the audition circuit and they're all just like, living the dream. It's like, that is also cheapening what it actually is. Like, stop saying that. It drives me up a wall. Like, just living the dream when you're like slinging cocktails. Like, no, this is not it. Like, this is a stepping stone to it.
Yes.
And I could look past that if they meant it earnestly. Like, this is a piece of what I'm doing and how I'm getting there. This is funding whatever I'm doing.
Yeah.
But it's always like that snide, sneery, like sarcastic, like,
blast.
like, what are you up to? I'm just living the dream.
Yeah.
And like the inference of your life being shit.
Yeah.
And so it, like, I hate that expression. I refuse to use it for that reason.
Yeah.
Because it's always meant the wrong way.
Yes.
And I feel like I cannot hit the point home enough of paying your future self. And when you say something like, just living the dream, you're robbing your future self because you're taking a shit all over everything that you're doing, whether it's waiting tables, bartending, catering, doing events, like whatever the thing is that's bringing money to you. By putting that down and taking a crap on it, unless you're actively trying to get out of it to better yourself, you're just robbing your future self of who you are going to become or want to become.
Yeah.
Like, how many people have I worked with 5, 6, 7, 8 years later are still doing the same thing?
Yeah.
And no shade, but like, pay your future self, and maybe you won't have to bartend for 6, 7, 8, 9 years. You hear stories about people who like moved to New York and 2 years later they're on Broadway, or 2 years later they've headlined their own show. You know why? Because they knew when to get out. And they were paying their future self first.
Yep.
And I wish I had learned that concept 15 years ago.
Woulda, shoulda, coulda, though. You know, like maybe you would have learned
exactly.
it, and then things would have gotten not as what they were. I don't know. Like you just don't know.
Well, and it's also just again like I think a misunderstanding with like the manifestation thing too is like I feel like people think that they can just like lay on their floor with their eyes closed and manifest things and it'll just happen. But you have to take steps to do it. It's a way, to me, manifestation is really just a way to like rewire your brain to focus on the thing that you want.
Yeah.
And be more dialed into taking actions to get it.
Effectively driven.
Yes.
Right? It's like pinpoint accuracy on what you're looking for. Specificity.
Exactly.
Because like the more you think about it, is exactly what I want. I have manifested things in my life that have been insane.
You sure have.
100%. Like in 24 hours, I literally gave the universe a test. I was like, in 24 hours, wow the shit out of me. I don't know what you're going to do, but if you want me to be in, just wow the fuck out of me. And the next day, Dr. Seuss is on Amazon. So I was like, after months of just sitting in there, whatever. And I was like, okay. You know, but I did the work. It's not like they randomly were like, "Oh, a show she made. Here it is." It's that I took years of creation,
exactly,
and editing, and blah blah blah, and putting in there, and
that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make too.
Exactly.
Like these people that I've worked with who are still doing the things that they've been doing forever ago are like, oh yeah, I'm gonna book a TV series, or I'm gonna make X amount of dollars or whatever, but then they continue to bartend.
Yeah.
You know, and again, there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. I did it for years, but I took a step back and was like, this is not the life I want. I want to redirect. I want to make this much money. I want to I want to live by myself in my own apartment where I'm on the lease, where I'm making X amount of dollars and pursuing my shit.
Yeah, you're specific.
And working from home.
You're very specific.
Right. And then the universe threw me a big flux of money.
Yeah.
And I was like, we out. We're taking it.
We out. Let's go.
And that literally is the like aligned action that changed my whole life. Like it's a year and a half later now almost.
Okay. I was going to ask you when exactly it was. Yeah.
It's about a year and a half. And it is baffling to me how different my life is right now than it was 2 years ago. Like it's insane. And also the fact that last year I just made a TikTok about last year, and how different my life is now compared to even last year.
Yeah.
Because honestly, because of the way that the universe like bowling bumper lanes me into like where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
And I think that's also a thing that needs to be taken into consideration when things that feel like setbacks happen.
Yeah.
And this is kind of exactly what my TikTok was about today. But like, you know, having cancer sucked. But you know what? I got a book out of it.
Yeah.
And that book is going to get me a TV show out of it. And so, and a multitude of other things, you know, and so like that was a setback. And in the moment it felt terrible. But now looking back at it, I'm kind of like, no, that was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Hey, girl.
In a really dark, twisted kind of way.
Divorced lady over here.
Hey,
best thing that ever happened to me.
Every time I hear that someone's divorced, I'm always like, oh, congratulations.
Yeah, no, it's the literal best thing that could have ever happened in my life. And I think, and you know, not to speak for my mother, you know, beat cancer twice. That taught me a lot about a lot of things. And she is so impressive and such a baddie. Stage 4, beat it. Wild.
Baddie.
Kathy Seeds. Yeah, my hero. And, you know, and then a few years ago also, my grandfather was on hospice and I had to be the one to help him like pass. And everyone else was too, like, it just wasn't, you know, and out of all the grandkids and out of all the gin joints and all the you know, I was the one that was able to do that. And I have to say that was one of the most profoundly beautiful leveling up experiences of my life. And I think these tragic, these really hard things in our lives, not I'm saying they need to happen, but what I'm saying is when they do, you do come out of it so much more leveled up as a human being. Like you view the world as like so much like, why would I be afraid of all these like stupid, like my contracts and my hair is weird today, or like, I don't like how this is. And well, girl, you will die one day.
Yeah.
Everyone will die one day.
Sure will.
And some people are fighting for their lives right now. Some people are fighting their own mental battles. Some people are fighting for all sorts of things and dealing with that. Take what you have and fucking go the distance, bitch. Go
real.
as far as you can with it.
Yeah.
Like, and all the things that are bad that have happened to me, I like literally don't regret any of them because I think, or I don't look at them and go, oh God, because it really taught me a lot. You have to use it.
You have to. And I think that also ties back into the money conversation in a way that a lot of us stop ourselves from going for it and doing it because there's this perception that like you can't do it or you can't go for it until you have a certain amount of money or a certain amount of income or a certain amount of opportunity presented to you. And like to a degree that is true-ish.
Sure.
Like you have to have your bases covered. Like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like I will sing that song until the day I die.
Yeah.
But like you can just do it. Like people are making movies with iPhones. Like
Truly.
You need no dollars to get started.
Yeah.
You will need them later, but
Truly.
like to get the writing is free. Creating the stuff is free.
Yeah.
Like maybe you need to get some supplies to make the things happen. Like sound equipment is not cheap.
Right.
But
And maybe look at your budget, look at the things that you spend money on.
Right.
And don't spend money on those things and instead spend the money on something creative.
Well, but also, I mean, but
easily.
But I'm also a big fan of just like not doing that and just doing it.
Right.
You know, like just go for it. You know, like if I looked at my budget and was like, I'm going to go to Europe for 3 weeks, looking at my budget would have been like, no, bitch, you're staying right here.
That's true. Yeah.
And
that's true.
I would not trade it for anything. It was the best thing I have ever done. And you know, this apartment, same kind of thing. Like, yes, I got this big flux of money. Could I have paid off a shit fuck ton of debt? Could I have like saved a bunch of money and done a bunch of other things? Yeah, but I would still be in a miserable apartment situation.
Yeah.
And you and I wouldn't have been as close as we were because I'd be living 111 blocks downtown.
Truly.
And like
so far away.
you're just right
up the block.
a stone's throw away. So, you know, it really is just about the prioritization of where your money is going.
Yeah.
And like, can you hang on to it and squirrel it away? You absolutely can. And paying your future self, I will not back down off of that. But taking the risk, it's all a risk.
Yeah.
Everything we do is a risk.
Yeah.
So just do it.
Well,
especially if it's going to fulfill you and make you happy.
And
later.
I agree with that entirely. So don't let anyone stop you from doing that. Do that shit. But as someone who is like debt free, it does give you like a lot of freedom to be like, okay, I allotted this, and then now I'm not even worried about that right now. That being said, for the original Dr. Seeds, it cost me about, not the big one that we made, but the original little thing was about $2,000. And I was bartending or acting. I mean, not bartending. I was waitressing, bartending, I think, still at the time. And instead of taking that money and going out, I just was like, no, I won't do that for like a month. And then I had enough.
Yeah.
And then it was like,
because it's amazing.
Because it's amazing how much money you spend in New York.
Right.
And then also because I had enough, then my producer at the time, who's still one of my favorite humans, David Russo, who's producer on the big one too, he matched it a little. He like gave, because he saw how much I had saved as a young little 20-something. And he was like, let me help you. Like, that's really cool. You're serious. And he matched me. And then we were able to create the web series, which got so many views, which then culminated in the show.
Yeah.
That being said, I think you should always take a risk. Like, go on that trip. Like I said, like, should I really have gone on a vineyard trip after I like just, you know, did something else and did this? No, logically, absolutely not. I should not have done that. Am I glad I did it? 100%.
Yeah.
Rejuvenated, refreshed, changed my life.
I think
it's always just like do it.
No, totally. I agree. And I want to tell a story because I think it's an American culture thing too. Ooh. But I want to tell this quick story. My friend Jordan told me this years and years and years ago.
Okay.
He used to work for like luxury handbags. Like he would sell these like $20,000 bags. Like I don't actually know if that's how much they cost, whatever, not the point.
Sure they did.
One of the women that he worked with was older and she was preparing for retirement. And she basically like cut everything out of her life so she could save enough money to buy a beach house at the end of her life.
Okay.
And when she got to the point where she was right about to retire, she had all this money. She was going to go buy her like $1 million beachfront property. And she went down to Florida to like look at places. And she had all these appointments with a realtor and whatever. So she saw like 1 or 2 places. And then she had like an hour or so to kill. And she was like, I'm going to go lay on the beach. And she went and laid on the beach and she fucking died. Had a heart attack right there on the beach, died. didn't live a life at all because she was
Right.
so concerned with buying this beach house
Right.
during retirement. So yes, don't go out for a month, save money for a POC, for a proof of concept. Sorry,
Yeah.
POC means something totally different. Proof of concept is what I meant.
Yikes.
Anyway, to clarify.
Save that money for a POC. Yeah.
Yeah.
Proof of concept.
So like,
Web series. Yeah.
so like, yes, you can do that and you should do that. And
Yeah.
you can do that to a degree, but when it becomes the central thesis of your whole life,
stifle your life.
right? Like
Don't stifle your creativity.
Like, don't hide in your apartment. Like,
No. I was out slanging.
counting change.
I was out
Of course
there
you
in
were.
these
I know
streets.
who you are.
I was still doing all that.
But like,
yeah.
but that, like, you
Yeah.
know, don't deprive yourself of everything.
No.
Again, Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yeah.
To like make the thing or do the thing that you want to do. Just do it. Like that's
Right.
I'm high risk, low reward. Like I'm all about the experience and all about like just doing it to say
Sure.
that you did it and to have the thing that you did.
Yeah.
And I worry about the money stuff later because it
Yeah.
always works out.
Yep.
It has always worked out for me. I've never really had to work that hard for it to work out. It just always has because I'm savvy, I'm smart, I
Right.
know people, I know when to ask for help.
Right.
And you know, that's just how I live
Yes,
my life.
but-
Would I like
but-
to be debt free? Yes.
Yes. But it just helps you.
All that to say.
Yeah. So I think it's like, it depends on the person too. It's like, is being in any sort of debt going to mentally hurt you? Like, you know what I mean? Some people are really just like truly let that shit fuck them in their head.
Right. Well, but then that becomes a mindset kind of
And they need to
conversation
stop.
around money. And
Yeah.
it's like, you know, I was talking to my mom about this a couple months ago because I was like, ooh, money is like, ooh. And I'm big at paying like really big chunks of credit cards at the end of the month.
Sure.
Like again, I use them, I balloon my checking account, and then I just spray it all over my credit cards.
Wow. Vivid.
Yeah, it's a whole thing.
That's an image.
Vivid.
Vivid.
But
Wow.
I was talking to my mom about this. She's like, you know, you don't have to do that. And I was like, oh yeah, I guess I really don't.
Yeah.
And like that just, you know, made things easier.
She's like, don't. And you're like,
Huh, yeah, all right. Cool. Because I had that mentality of like, oh my God, this debt is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. How
No.
am I ever going to create anything with debt?
yeah, no, shut up. No.
But then when you hit a point where like money slows down, because that's what happens in creative when you're a 1099er and you work for yourself, sometimes you just don't have months that are as good as other months.
Yeah.
And when that happens, it's like, maybe just like pay the minimum or like a little above
just,
the
like,
minimum.
give.
You don't have to pay the whole thing or like a huge chunk of it. Like just like the minimum is fine.
Relax. Yeah.
Yeah. And listen, not that this is what you should do, but I'm here to tell you that I let a credit card sit unpaid for like 5 years.
Oh, God.
And you know what happened?
I'm having
Not a
anxiety.
fucking thing.
Okay. I'm having anxiety, but that's great.
Yeah. I mean, it gave me anxiety on the regular, but
Yeah.
nothing happened.
I love that.
I didn't die. No one came and took my shit away.
Yeah, that's true. Ain't nobody gonna kill you.
It was fine. And so, like, if you're in a situation where, like, you can't pay something like one time, like it's not going to kill you. Like, yeah, it's a mark on your credit score or whatever, but like those go away. You can fix those. Like, I had an unknown tax lien on my credit score from like 2008 because I thought I had paid the thing, and apparently I didn't.
I'm dying.
Yeah.
that'll
But
happen.
again, like things I wasn't taught.
Yeah, no,
Like,
we weren't taught this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here
Well,
we are.
I think this has been very educational today.
This has been a wild episode.
well,
This is
yeah.
not as light as it usually is.
No, we're very. No, I like it.
Yeah, we're getting into it.
Getting into it. Well, I think a lot of it has to do, and to end us around an hour, is that Easter. What'd you do? What'd you do on Easter?
I was
You were
sick and I laid
Yeah.
on my couch. I ordered $70 of sushi. Should I have done that? Was that in the budget? No.
No.
But I did it. And you know what?
That sounds awesome.
It was, I got this miso ramen from Tempopo. Love
Favorite.
Tempopo.
I love the miso ramen.
And then I ordered sushi from a different place.
Work.
And I had sushi and ramen, and it
That
healed
sounds
me.
amazing. For just
It healed
70,
me.
actually, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
We watched because we were like, okay, we got to do something
Oh, and I watched Inventing Anna.
work.
So good.
We watched Jesus Christ Superstar.
The Sarah Bareilles version or the film version?
film.
Okay.
Yeah, wild.
Like Ted Neely, the Ted Neely version.
I guess. I don't even know.
70s, like
yes,
the original.
70s.
Okay, that's Ted Neely, yeah.
Wow.
It's wild.
Wild.
I love that version.
I loved it.
But I also love the Sarah Bareilles version.
I haven't seen it. I don't know anything about it.
Oh
yeah.
my God. It was
I'm very
live,
not a
it was
musical
live
theater, yeah.
broadcast. It was live broadcast.
Oh.
John Legend was Jesus.
Oh, work.
Christopher Jackson was Judas.
Work.
Sarah Bareilles was Mary Magdalene.
Ugh.
she was
that song.
brilliant.
Well, I looked at Mike and I was like, wait, the Mary Magdalene song I sang in show choir, and I didn't even know where it was from. I just was like, this is the song, Jesus. I love him. And I'm like, wait a minute. Like, she's talking about Jesus. My God.
Right.
Like, when you're in high school and they're like, this is your medley, and there's
Right.
all female medley.
Here's a song about hooching it up for Christ.
Yeah. Giving it to the Lord. But yeah, dude, I loved that. And it was
It's so
very
good.
moving. And I think I just wanted to watch something Jesus related because, I grew up in the church and, didn't pan out. But because it was
Didn't pan out.
really closed-minded Presbyterian
Well,
shit,
that's most churches.
And yeah, sure. And, it was nice to, think about this man. He was
hot.
He was, yeah. But he got fucked over. He got fucked.
He did.
But I really loved
By
the
all
gay,
12 apostles.
Yeah, I loved. Yes, God. I loved the gay Jewish mafia in it, like the guys with their turbans and
Yeah.
their like shirtless realness.
I mean, the visuals on that production are insane.
oh my God,
Like
the widescreen, just like.
the one, like the upshot.
Yeah, the upshot and
When they're, like, pulling him
they're
down.
literally in the desert in the Middle East, like
Yeah.
crushing it. I mean, I was very impressed by the way they did the visuals.
Yeah, cinematically
Minimalist
speaking,
and effective.
cinematically speaking, it's gorgeous.
Absolutely
I
gorgeous.
think it's Andrew Lloyd Webber's best.
Agreed. I forgot it was even him.
Is that Andrew Lloyd Webber?
It is
Yes,
Andrew Lloyd
it
Webber.
is.
No, I
Correct.
forgot it was even him. I looked him up and I was like, whoa, Andrew.
Yeah,
Holy
I think it's his
shit.
best work.
I highly agree.
Yeah, there's some bops in there,
There's some big old bobs.
big old bops. But I mean, I think it's on
Tell
YouTube.
me what's happening. What's the
Buzz, tell me what's the
happening?
tea. You almost said, "What's the tea?" Could you,
the
let's
tea?
let's redo Jesus Christ Superstar and make it even gayer
Yeah,
than
it's
it already
so
is.
gay, which I love.
And what's the tea? Tell me what's happening.
Kissing Jesus goodbye. I'm like, work.
Okay. There are so many really fun parody TikToks that make fun of the Last Supper
Oh yeah.
that are like, this queen and his 12 little friends come in
Yeah.
here.
He's like,
They
"This is my
didn't pay the
body,
bill.
this is my blood."
There's one that's really funny that's like, they go to split the bill 13 ways.
It's good.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
But there's so much gayness to it all. And
love it.
there's another guy I follow that's like, there's no way that you can tell me that Jesus was not gay.
Well, he was BFFs with a prostitute. That was his
Right.
girl.
She was the
And
drag queen.
She was
you
the
have these
beard
12 men who left their
dragging it
wives to
out.
go hang with Jesus.
Yeah.
Like they were doing it.
Sorry, everyone listening. We're not trying to be sacrilegious, but
I am.
frankly, it was just.
I am fully trying to be sacrilegious.
Yeah, I know you are.
Because the church did me wrong.
Yeah,
so-
the church done you wrong. Done you wrong. No, but I think there's like so much there. Either he was. Sorry, he either was slanging and banging with his prostitute boo boo, or he was just kiki kaka. This is my girl out on the
Yeah.
town. I'm 30 something with no kids.
Yeah.
And,
I'm
you know-
Middle Eastern, so hung like a dinosaur.
Yeah.
Literally
go.
hung like this.
I'm gonna stop this now. Yeah, so you know what I mean? Like,
Shut it down.
shut it down. They take him off the set. Anyway, no, I watched it. It was really good.
It's really good.
It was-
And the
it
Sarah
was
Bareilles
moving.
version is on YouTube. You should
Okay, I'm gonna
absolutely
watch
watch it. She's brilliant. And John Legend sang the hell out of it.
Oh, well.
So good.
As a legend does.
As a legend does.
But guys, thank you for tuning in.
This has been a wild ride today.
This is such a wild one today. And we love you guys. Thank you for tuning in to How to
Be a Rich Bitch.
Put the money on the table.
You're so rich.
Payment.